Hi everyone, so my name is Jayla Locklear, and today I will be explaining and going over my practicum, which is titled Promoting Health Equity Within American Indian Communities. On the next slide, we can go into the practicum purpose and goals. So here, as you can see, is displayed the purpose of the practicum as well as the focus areas, and I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail and elaborate on that. So the purpose of this practicum was intended for research and as well as in promoting the prevention of chronic disease and cancer to the American Indian populations within the state of North Carolina. And during this, it allowed for education to be culturally appropriate and fitting for the intended audience, as well as education and outreach was achieved through different events such as questionnaires and lobby homecoming. The intended areas of focus, as you can see on the screen, are HPV vaccination, cancer screenings, nutrition, commercial tobacco avoidance, and chronic disease prevention. On the next slide, we can go into the experiences. So here we go into further detail of the planning, the evidence, development, outreach, and evaluation. And just to broaden that scope, the practicum took a good amount of time to develop as well as planning and research to provide evidence, participate in outreach, as well as to provide conclusive evaluation of the findings in which we gathered. In doing so, I engaged in weekly meetings with my preceptor and stakeholders to help create and follow through with each stage of this practicum. And through the Southeastern American Indian Cancer Health Equity Partnership, or SICEP, we were able to provide community outreach to in Lumbee Homecoming, and to distribute the educational resources to develop and distribute as well through SciSip and UNC. The feedback was issued as well as received based upon the feelings and the opinions of those members within the community. And on the next slide, we will go into accomplishments and outcomes. Displayed here is the events that took place during the practicum. We can see that it depicts outreach opportunities focused within the community. There were 7+ meetings conducted to discuss, plan, and evaluate the outcomes of the practicum. There was about 15 members of the community who participated in the outreach opportunities presented by SciSep and UNC, and there were 2 forms of resources distributed to the members of the community through these outreach events. And there were also 7 individuals who participated in a final questionnaire expressing their concerns and feedback. Going over to the next slide, would love to give some detail and insight on what was learned from this experience. Okay, so going over the learned slide, we see there are four sections here. So going over the first one, cultural responsiveness was definitely important, making sure that the education and information receiving was tailored to the American Indian community within North Carolina, and reflecting the community itself. So we learned that community engagement is definitely a two-way process. Um, Relationships are essential. So having that collaboration with the general community, and as well as building trust, helps provide strength and within public health interventions. Learning that, and just to give a little spiel for my job in healthcare, I see that trust is a big factor. And being an American Indian myself, a member of the Lumbee tribe, trust is extremely important when we are building those relationships with outsiders whom we don't know, whom we are unaware of if they are aware of our culture. what we represent, who we truly are, what Lumbee means to us, our American Indian culture, things that we do that is sacred and that is honorable. There are many different things, and trusting that someone has positive intentions to provide for us in a positive way and not to deter us from our true identity. That is extremely important. And when dealing with health, that's where a lot of our individuals lack health care because of the the disconnect in trust. Building that bridge of trust is extremely important, because when you have that and you have someone who looks like them going into their communities, which is me, and explaining the importance of health and what comes along with that, and how important it is to take a stance on your health so you can have a long life and explore the longevity of your life and your body and who you are. It's important for someone who depicts who they are to feed them that information. So that's what I've learned. And I've learned that it is necessary to provide flexibility. So the biggest takeaway that I gathered from this practicum would be that public health is not just something done to the community, but it's also done with the community. Again, displaying that trust. Yes, I want you to trust me. So help me understand who you are and help me engage with you in the culturally appropriate way and positive way. I want you to be involved within this practicum, because it's not about me, it's about you at the end of the day. And we want to make sure you're living a long, healthy life. So in the beginning, there was some distribution of health information. But we also discovered that providing a listening ear was beneficial as well, because a lot of times individuals want to be heard. They want to make sure that you are hearing them, you are understanding them, and you are not just casting them to the side and disregarding their opinions or concerns. So that is something that I learned. So on the next slide, we will discuss the challenges faced within the practicum. And as you can see, there's a long list of challenges and things that I would change. Just focusing on a couple here that I'm going to elaborate on. After doing some reflection, I have identified a few challenges that were faced. One of those being that I underestimated how difficult measuring the impact of health education within the appropriate time frame of the practicum actually could be. And coming from the community, I wish I was a little bit more aware, because I know how some of my American Indian population can be, specifically Lumbee. Just being well prepared and discussing things with them on a higher level, in which is geared towards their understanding. Um, so that's something that I faced. The members of the community were interested as well as engaged, but two factors that are not determined. Those are not the two determining factors. The knowledge or the behavior that you've displayed, you're not aware or sure that it's going to change based off of what you've given them. And you're hoping that it does, but at the end of the day, that is a personal decision for the individual. And I just want to be able to present you with the resources that you need, and the person being me that you can come to and ask questions and voice your concerns and opinions. In the future, I would incorporate a more formal evaluation strategy earlier in the process. And when I say earlier, I mean right at the beginning, just to see where we are at. And going over to the next slide, we will look at the recommendations and professional growth. And I have recommendations as well as what I took forward here on the screen. You can see that displayed. And after completion of this practicum, my understanding has shifted tremendously. The world of public health education has shifted tremendously. I've learned that change and success in public health first comes with trust, then listening. You collaborate, as well as provide cultural humility and as well as collaboration and a willingness to adapt to the identifiers being what is strictly important. So that is my presentation. I hope that it was informative. I hope that you were able to understand the breakdown of my paper a bit more and that you enjoyed it. So thank you. I've enjoyed my practicum time and being able to engage within my community. Have a great day.